The most brutal ways ancient humans survived the Ice Age. Imagine waking up in a world where the temperature could freeze you to death in minutes. No cities, no electricity, no medicine, no farms, no warm houses. Only endless snow, giant predators, and hunger. Around 20,000 years ago, during the peak of the last ice age, huge parts of Earth were buried under massive glaciers, entire forests vanished, food became rare, winds could cut through skin like knives, yet somehow humans survived. Not only survived, they conquered one of the deadliest environments in human history. But the truth is far darker and more brutal than most people realize, because Ice Age humans didn't survive by being stronger than nature. They survived by becoming ruthless, inventive, and terrifyingly adaptable. The first thing ancient humans learned was simple. Fire meant life. Without fire, death came quickly. Archaeologists believe Ice Age families guarded flames constantly because relighting one during storms or freezing winds could be nearly impossible. A dying fire wasn't just inconvenient, it could wipe out an entire group overnight. So they fed fires endlessly. Animal fat, bones, dry grass, wood, anything that burned. At night, families crowded together around tiny flames while blizzards screamed outside their shelters. Smoke filled their lungs, sparks burned their skin, but the alternative was freezing solid before sunrise. And the cold wasn't their only nightmare. The Ice Age world was filled with monsters: woolly mammoths, cave lions, saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas. Humans were weak compared to them. One mistake during a hunt could mean getting crushed by a mammoth or ripped apart by predators. But ancient humans developed a brutal solution. They hunted together. Entire tribes coordinated attacks using sharpened spears, stone blades, and traps. Some groups chased animals off cliffs. Others drove them into narrow valleys where escape became impossible. Archaeological evidence from France shows humans repeated these massive animal slaughters for thousands of years. Imagine the chaos: hundreds of screaming animals, hunters shouting, blood covering snow, spears breaking, people dying. But if the hunt succeeded, the tribe survived another winter, and they wasted nothing. Every part of the animal became valuable. Meat was dried and stored, bones became needles and weapons, sinew became thread, hides became clothing and shelter, even mammoth tusks became building material. Because in the Ice Age, waste could kill you. One of the greatest inventions in human history appeared during this frozen nightmare: the sewing needle. It sounds small, harmless, but it changed everything. Before needles, humans wrapped themselves loosely in animal hides. That helped, but not enough for deadly Ice Age winters. Then humans invented bone needles with tiny holes carved into them. Suddenly, they could sew fitted clothing from animal fur and layered hides. Tight clothing trapped body heat far better than loose skins. This single invention may have saved entire populations from extinction. Some experts believe Ice Age clothing became surprisingly advanced. Layered outfits similar to modern winter gear, fur-lined boots, waterproof outer skins, gloves, hooded parkas. Think about that. While mammoths walked across frozen plains, humans were already inventing survival technology. But clothing alone wasn't enough. Shelter became another brutal challenge. Most people imagine cavemen living deep inside caves. That's not entirely true. Many Ice Age humans actually built shelters using whatever they could find: wood, hides, stone, even mammoth bones. In parts of Ice Age Europe, archaeologists discovered entire dwellings made from enormous mammoth skeletons. Picture it: a circular house built from giant skulls and tusks, animal skins stretched over the bones, smoke rising into freezing air, children sleeping beside piles of meat while wolves howled outside in the darkness. That wasn't fantasy, that was survival. And survival often meant constant movement. Ice Age humans became masters of migration. They followed animal herds across enormous distances because staying in one place too long could mean starvation. Entire tribes walked through frozen wastelands carrying tools, children, fire, and food. Sometimes they crossed land bridges that no longer exist today. One of those frozen land bridges, Beringia, connected Asia and North America. Humans crossed it while glaciers dominated the Earth, eventually spreading across the Americas. Imagine walking across a frozen world with no maps, no roads, only instinct and hope. And if you failed to find food, people died. Slowly. Hunger during the Ice Age was horrifying. Scientists studying ancient remains discovered some Ice Age groups depended heavily on massive animals like mammoths for survival. A single mammoth could feed a tribe for weeks, but hunting one was unbelievably dangerous. Hunters likely spent days tracking weakened animals through snow before launching coordinated attacks. If the mammoth charged, there was nowhere to run. And even after a successful hunt, survival stayed brutal. Meat froze solid. Predators smelled blood from miles away. Rival tribes could steal food supplies. Every winter became a war against starvation. Some experts believe humans even learned psychological survival tricks, storytelling, music, cave paintings. At first, that sounds unimportant compared to food or fire, but during endless freezing nights, morale mattered. Humans used stories and symbols to pass knowledge between generations: where animals migrated, which plants were edible, how to survive storms, where danger waited. In other words, stories helped keep humans alive. The famous cave paintings in places like Lascaux weren't random art. They may have been survival guides, hunting lessons, or spiritual rituals connected to survival itself. And even today, those paintings feel eerie because they remind us something unsettling. Ice Age humans were already thinking like us, dreaming like us, fearing death like us. But the Ice Age didn't only create survivors, it created innovators. Humans invented specialized tools designed for extreme environments: harpoons, stone blades, spear throwers, bone chisels, and hide scrapers. These weren't primitive accidents, they were carefully engineered survival technology. And humans kept improving, because evolution during the Ice Age rewarded intelligence. The people who adapted survived. The people who didn't vanished. Entire human species disappeared during this brutal era. Neanderthals vanished. Other ancient human relatives disappeared forever. But Homo sapiens endured, not because we were the strongest, but because we cooperated better, shared knowledge better, adapted faster. And maybe the craziest part of all, humans didn't just survive the Ice Age, they expanded during the Ice Age. Recent discoveries in places like Serbia suggest humans survived in regions once thought too cold and deadly for life. That changes how scientists understand prehistoric humans. These people weren't helpless cavemen hiding from nature. They were explorers, strategists, survivors. They crossed frozen continents, hunted giant beasts, built shelters from bones, stitched clothing from hides, and carried fire through a world trying to kill them every single day. And eventually, the ice began to melt. Glaciers retreated. Forests returned. The world changed again. But humanity remained, because our ancestors had already endured one of the harshest survival tests in history. And deep down, part of that Ice Age survivor still exists inside us: the ability to adapt when everything collapses, the instinct to fight through impossible conditions, the refusal to give up even when the world turns cold. That instinct helped ancient humans survive the Ice Age, and it may be the reason you're alive today.